We're good. All right. I think we got it squared away. I think we did. Cool. Hello, hello. Man, who technology was this confusing? Yeah, we're gonna get it figured out. I think we're almost there. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. All right. All right, family. Brother will hop on when he can. We'll just keep it moving along for right now. So family, if you guys didn't catch the first part of this, you know, we're in a very important area right now. It is the interrelate between family, trauma, and your habits, right? It's your family, trauma, and your habits. And this is super duper important because people don't realize how those three items really structure and formulate how you're gonna go and act in life. That is the key. That is the secret sauce right there. How you go and act through life is based on your family, your trauma, and your habits. And your family is often it's a challenge, right? Because you got to realize that when you are in a family unit, it's not just your bloodline that you're connected to. It's everything that's happened in that bloodline. It's everything that's happened within that family unit. And this could be anything from, you know, generational trauma. This could be anything from trapped emotions. This could be anything from abuse that happened. And a lot of the times, this is something that people don't realize. Your genes, your DNA it has a memory. And that memory is passed on to the rest of the line, the rest of the family, the future generations, which is why it's so important that we're having this conversation today. It's so important because the future of your family's line and how it's going to turn out is directly dependent on the work that you're putting in right now. Oh, freak. Dang. All right. All right. Looks like some people can't hear it. Yeah, secrets, brother. There's I need you to respond, bro. You can see everything all right? Is it coming through on your end? Man, they really don't like us today. They really don't like us today. Dope, man. Dope. Yeah, we're having a few technical difficulties, but we're gonna keep chugging along, y'all. And you gotta realize how powerful it is to address where you're at in life. And while we get this squared away on this end, I'm just gonna keep going, keep moving along, right? Because I really want to give you all this value. I want to give you all this knowledge. So you gotta recognize, all right, cool. Awesome. I appreciate it, Darius. So you gotta realize, yo, the family unit is the integral unit that must be protected. It's the integral unit that must be, it has to be sacred. And in today's society, you know, our families aren't sacred anymore. What happens when our families aren't sacred anymore, right? And what do I mean by that? We are often at ends with our relatives. We're often at ends with our parents and with our offspring. And what this does is it causes an unstable bond in the family unit. And this results in improper habits. It also results in a lot of trauma. Bro, what? Okay. It results in improper habits and a lot of trauma, right? And what this issue does is it compounds, and you end up carrying this on into your life. You carry it on to other partners, you carry it on to other people, and ultimately, if you decide to make a family, you end up passing these issues on to your family. So today's conversation, today's topic is all about digging into those kind of deals, digging into habits, how to form good habits, digging into trauma. What is trauma? How do you address trauma in the family unit, and how to start maybe organizing your mind around what it means to be a family? Because oftentimes, what we see as family is not how a family should operate. We shouldn't be at ends all the time. We shouldn't be waking up to yelling and arguing. We shouldn't be told really to limit yourself, especially as a child. There's one of my mentors, his thought process is always tell yourself, think unlimited, think unlimited, think unlimited. And oftentimes, stemming from childhood, from our families, we're taught to think limited. We're put in boxes, and we're put into these containers, and it structures the way that you express yourself. So, it looks like we're having issues getting a buddy on the call. Can't really do anything about that at this point in time. So I'm gonna try one more time, and if not, I'm gonna just tackle this by myself, and we'll cross that bridge next time. We'll get everything squared away a little better. Look. All right. So family, let's dive into the meat and potatoes, right? So I got a few questions that some of the audience is expressed to me beforehand. So I want to tackle those, but I really want to give y'all that preface before we dove into everything about really why we're even having this conversation. So let's talk about life for just a moment. Why are we here in the first place? Why are we alive? Why are we on this planet? And it's to ascend. A lot of people don't know why you're here, and that's why you're easily trapped into these habits. You're trapped into this conditioning that you think that all you gotta do is work. That's what you're supposed to do: work, 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 and eat, sleep, and that's it. And you do that for 40, 50, 60 years, and then you die. And that's not the case. We're here to ascend. We're here to elevate this experience that we call life. We're here to work as a unit. We're here to come together and to go forward. And oftentimes, one of the reasons why people are not integrating is because there's too much division. And that division is typically stemming from trauma. It's stemming from trauma. Yeah, man. It's just stemming from trauma. Oh my gosh. Yo, I'm not sure what the issue is, y'all. This is quite aggravating. All right, but it's just stemming from trauma, y'all. And this trauma causes so much division. It causes us to kind of break apart. It causes us to not want to work together. And oftentimes we have the focus wrong. And what is the focus? The focus is that we're a family. We're a unit. But all these different things, race, color, creed, ideologies, religion, all these different things has us thinking that somebody's against us. And I'm going to tell you, you got to get out of this paradigm. You got to get out of this mindset that has this right versus wrong mentality. Yes, there are inherent things that are right, but a lot of the times you're not arguing over things that are inherently right or inherently wrong. You're arguing over things that are all perspective and really development based, right? So if you're a child, you're not working out every day. You're not doing push-ups and pull-ups, but as an adult, yes, you're gonna do that. It's all what you're doing is all gonna be dependent on where you're at in your development, where you're at in your life. And that is the issue. That is usually the axis point where people are fighting all the time, right? What I believe is right and what you believe is wrong. And in reality, it's just multiple sides of the same object. I know people have seen this picture before, and it's like a 6 or a 9 laying on the ground, and there's two dudes at the end, and one saying it's a 6, and the other one saying it's a 9. Yeah. All right, roger that, brother. Roger that, Keith. But you know, there's that picture, you know, and somebody saying this is a 6, another one saying it's a 9. They're arguing, but in reality, they're both right. They're both right. And once you get over this need to want to be right all the time, and once you can allow yourself to be wrong, you'll realize how much we have in common and how much we can actually grow together as a unit, as a family. And so let's dig into it a little bit, y'all. The first question I had was, you know, how do you develop good habits? And this all goes down to family first, right? Your family, first and foremost, establishes values for you. It's values. Your family unit tells you what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, and what you can do to really establish good habits is to analyze your own values in life. What is it that's important to you? One of the things I like to tell my clients is, and I ask them this, what does success look like to you? What does it look like? You know, and the second thing is, why is that important? And if you could answer those questions, you'll get a very clear picture on your values. And you're going to have to ask those questions again and again and again, because your values should develop over time. They will transform, because, you know, as a developing young person, you might be focused on money. Why? Because you got to survive. You got to get that root, you know, stable, that root stability first and foremost. But as you continue developing, as that root is established, your values begin to change. You're not so worried about money, but you might be worried about your contentment, you know, how happy you are with life. And as you build more happiness, you may then go into impact. You know, I want to show things to the world. I want to make an impact on the world. So the first thing, in order to establish good habits, you got to figure out what your values are. Get clear with your values, and that's going to take some self-reflection. That's going to take some self-analysis, and that's going to take you just taking time to be with yourself. Get rid of distractions. Get rid of all of those. If it's not serving you, if it's not getting you close to your goals, if it's not enhancing your value, it does not belong in your life. And you're going to have to get really, really honest and clear with yourself about where you're headed. And you're going to have to build some grit to learn how to say no. No, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not going to do that. And you can also have to learn to say yes when you don't want to. Yes, I'm going to get up and do my habit. Yes, I'm going to get up and do my goal. So establishing good habits, first and foremost, what are your values? What are your goals? What are you trying to build? Where are you trying to go? You got to get clear on that first and foremost. That's going to anchor you. That's going to anchor you to your decision. If you're not anchored to your decision, a strong wind is going to push you away, or you're going to get detoured when you get caught by the shiny object syndrome. Ooh, that looks nice. And here you go, wandering off again. Got to get clear on your values. They have to be very strong. They have to have some kind of emotional charge. And my recommendation is, do not have an external emotional charge. It has to be something within you. And don't worry if it doesn't happen immediately. Like, it's all good. It's all good if it doesn't happen immediately. And that's where people kind of fall off the track, where they think it's supposed to just be something fast that pops up in their mind. No, you got to realize that there are years of conditioning and layering that has caused you to act and think in a certain way that is foreign to you. And I know it's foreign to a lot of people because they have the itch. They want to keep moving around. They don't feel comfortable. They feel unsatisfied. They feel unfulfilled. That's the itch that I'm talking about. And that itch is because you got dirt on top of you. You got a lot of bullshit. Excuse my language. You got a lot of bullshit that you've adapted and agreed to as your real identity, as your real values. So again, first and foremost, you got to get clear on your values. That means you got to scrape off the BS. You got to sit with yourself. You got to be honest with yourself. Cut out the distractions. Turn off the TVs. Get off of YouTube. Get off social media for a little bit. Sit with yourself. Meditate. Pray. Be with yourself and be as present as possible, because that's going to anchor you into your spirit. It's going to anchor you into your soul. And from there, your values will be presented to you. And once those values are there, all you're doing is building things that highlight or practice those values, right? So if you're somebody who's really big on integrity, right? You want to be an integrated person. You want to have very strong character. What one of your habits can be is, I'm going to be completely honest with everybody that I meet. That's the habit. It sounds very simple. Sometimes it might even sound stupid, but that's the habit. And all you do is you practice it every single day, and you learn to own up when you fall short. That's how you establish good habits. It doesn't just happen overnight. It takes reps. Anybody who's an expert, anybody who's a master was first a beginner, and the bridge from beginner to master is reps. It's exercise. It's experience. It's repetition. You have to build the repetition, and you have to go back and correct when you fall short. So if you weren't honest, I'm big on extreme ownership, extreme accountability. If you weren't honest and you know that's one of the things you're working on, go back and tell somebody, hey, yo, you know what? I lied. My bad. I'm sorry. This is the truth. What that's going to do is you're holding yourself accountable. So that's really how you develop good habits. Get in alignment with your values, get alignment with your goals. And honestly, I would tell you to find a mentor or a coach or somebody you look up to and emulate them. If you like what they do, if you like the impact, if you like what that person is presenting to the world, typically you like things because it resonates with you. Resonating is, you recognize the vibration of another person, and it's typically something that you already have that might be dormant. So find mentors, find coaches, find people that you like, and see what they do, and you begin to pick those up. It's very important. That's what the role models are for. They're modeling the role that you want to play. There's nothing wrong with that. The next one is, how to stay dedicated to them. It's like I said, have your values established. Have your values established and learn how to ask yourself a simple question. Is this getting me closer to my goals, or is it not? Before any decision, ask that question. Is it getting me closer? Yes or no? And if it's not, you know the decision you have to make. And if it's yes, you know the decision you have to make. It's learning to take the moments to breathe, to pause, reflect, and then act. Though this Western society has us in this hustle mentality, this hustle, 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 go, go, go mode. And what that does is, it confuses you, and it has you thinking that you don't have enough time in the day. It has you thinking that you have to be moving and grooving all the time. You don't have time to think and pause and reflect. You don't have time to make a decision and take your time doing it. You always have the time. You always have the time. Do not let this world confuse you in thinking that you have to just be always moving. That's the issue. That's the big hoax that this society has put on us. It's confused productivity with being busy. And there's a very distinct difference. If you want to stay dedicated, learn to stay productive. And I'm gonna tell you, this is one of my secrets to staying productive. I do my best and I have more than 3 things to do in a day. That's it. Only 3 things. Why? Because when you have all these decisions to make, when you have all these things to get knocked out, 1, it leads to anxiety. 2, you will often lead to burnout. And 3, they tend to not get done. And you don't want to make it a habit of leaving things that you have to get done today till tomorrow. I hope that makes sense to you, right? Don't do things tomorrow that you can do today. You get in the habit of building your willpower. And the way you build your willpower is following things through to completion. And the easiest way to get that done is don't overload your plate. You get those 3 things done, and anything after that is a bonus, right? You start rewarding yourself with your productivity instead of just being so focused and so determined on getting everything done in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day. The temples weren't built in a day. It takes time. It takes persistence. It takes dedication. And more importantly, it takes grace. So be patient with yourself as you're developing good habits and staying dedicated to them, because I promise you, you will fall short sometimes. It's inevitable. I've fallen short on a lot of my goals, a lot of my habits. The more important part is just staying consistent. So when you do mess up, get right back on. Do it, right? So that was really the big part of habits that I really want to tackle. And as it pertains to family units, one of the other questions was, when establishing new habits, does your family need to be involved? And I'm gonna tell you this: your family doesn't need to be involved. I know it'll help you But in reality, a lot of the times, especially if you are the black sheep, you're going to be doing things by yourself. A lot of the times you're going to have to do things that are uncomfortable by yourself. You're going to have to walk the road by yourself. You're going to have to lay the blueprint by yourself. And it's okay, y'all. It really and truly is. Yes, it'd be nice to have support, but a lot of the times you're not. And I just put it like this. If you're the person that has to go through life without the support, I want you to think of it as a badge of honor, because you are building the blueprint. You are building the bridge. And people are going to follow that blueprint. They're going to follow that bridge when they're going to go through the same path you're on right now. So just stay the path, stay the track. Your family does not have to be involved, and oftentimes they're going to fight against you. I know it's a scary thing. It's a sad thing. But they're often going to fight against you. Go anyway. Continue going forward anyway, which is why I said at the beginning, it's important to establish those values and those goals. I know, bro. I know. So moving forward as well, y'all, because I'm just going to start blasting through some questions that I had listed ready to talk to y'all about. Man, I know my brother in here is like, dang, you really want to hop on. And I don't know what the issue is, honestly. I really don't know. We're going to have to figure this out next time. Why is establishing habits so important, y'all? It's important because your habits is freedom. Your habits are your freedom. And this is something I teach to my clients. It's something I teach in my program. It's your philosophy is freedom. Why? Because a philosophy is more of a code. It's a code. It's your list of what you will and will not do. And without the philosophy built in, without the philosophy established, you will always be victim to circumstance. I want you to realize that oftentimes you're victim to circumstance. If things aren't going the way that you want them to go, or if things just pop up and you don't have a philosophy set, if you don't have your own code set, you're going to be swayed off course. You're going to be swayed by what's happening around you because you have not established what's going to always happen within you, right? And that's what a philosophy is. It's an internal code of conduct. And so it's so important to establish habits, because that is how you establish freedom. Habits are your freedom, right? A lot of people think, what's good, Rob? What's good, Rob J? A lot of people think that freedom is no structure, right? They don't want to be put in a box. They don't want to be put in a pen. But that is exactly what freedom is. It is defining what areas you will operate in. Freedom is a box because it's a vehicle. Freedom is not a destination. Again, like this is very important. Freedom is not a destination. It's nowhere that you're going to end up at. It's a way of being, right? And that's what habits are a manifestation of how you are. Habits are a manifestation of your beingness. That's why it's so important, because if you don't have good habits, or if you don't establish any habits, you are not free. You may think you're free. You have the illusion of freedom, but oftentimes if you don't have habits, guess what happens? You just kind of flow with the day. You flow with the wind. Whatever happens, happens. And yes, it's cool to not be so stuck on being in control, but you should have some control. You should have some sense of direction. And that's what habits are. They're your sense of direction. And that's why they're so important, because that is you reclaiming your power. That's you reclaiming your freedom. And so I'm going to give you all a few powerful habits that I think everybody should participate in. This is going to be predominantly for men, to be honest with you. One, meditation. You need to meditate. You need to spend time with yourself, getting still, quieting the mind, getting rid of distractions, and just being. You don't focus when you're meditating. You are just letting the mind open up and just run. And eventually you'll realize that it comes to center. Meditation is you aligning with your observer, the inner observer. That is the all-seeing eye, more or less, right? So when you're pissed off and you're mad and you're angry, you know that you're angry. You know that you're angry, but that the knowingness, that is the observer that you learn to tap into once you're meditating, okay? So I want you to get in the habit of meditating. Another powerful habit, men, fellas, I don't know where you're at on your journey, hold your seed in. Hold your seed in. You do not need to be running around, trying to have sex with everything that moves. Get in the habit of conserving that energy. That's your creative energy, right? So when your sperm is how you create. Having sex is for procreation, right? So what happens if you just spilling your seed all the time? You are wasting your creative energy. You'll become less productive. You don't want to do all the cool things that's going on in your mind. You lose that passion and that drive to do things. So you need to learn to hold the energy in. Don't release your seed. Hold it. And if you feel like you got to, just maybe reduce the amount, or learn how to hold it in or have sex without ejaculating, right? So figure out where you're at on that level, but hold your seed in. Hold your seed in as much as possible. And the third habit I suggest you all develop is diet. Learn to have a very healthy diet. I would always tell you plant-based, fruits, teas, water, distilled water preferably. Like that. If you're gonna eat meat. I'm not gonna tell you what and what not to do, but I highly suggest you pick up a healthy plant-based diet. It's extremely important. Take it for somebody that had diabetes and high blood pressure. Your diet makes a difference, and it doesn't just affect your body, it affects your mind as well. How you think, how you act, how you operate, how you articulate yourself, the downloads that come, the intuition, the knowledge, it all is affected because of the gut. Right? They call the gut the second brain. You got to realize that the gut is a second brain, and the brain and the gut are connected via the vagus nerve. Right? So what you're going on, your intuition, they call it a gut feeling, right? Well, what happens when your gut is disgusting? What happens when your gut is backed up? What happens when your gut is full? Well, you can't feel much, or it's going to be skewed. So it's important to have a clean diet. Make sure that gut is clean so that you can have more clarity. And the fourth thing is fasting. I would highly recommend any and everybody to pick up the practice of fasting. Maybe it's intermittent fasting, 16 hours a day. Maybe you start off with 12 hours a day. Whatever you feel like you need to do, but check that out. Please do it. Those 4 habits right there can make a drastic impact in your life. You can always journal, exercise, but I would say those 4 are on the top of my list that I would recommend for everybody, okay? Those are very powerful habits. And so I'm not going to hold y'all on here too much longer, but we have 2 more little areas we're going to discuss, and that's going to be trauma, right? Trauma is a big under-discussed topic. It has to be addressed. And a lot of people are dealing with trauma. They don't even recognize that they have trauma, okay? So the importance of dealing with trauma is it allows you to live a more fulfilled life. It allows you to experience the beauty, the grandness, the breadths and the width of life. You got to realize this, y'all. Without healing your trauma, you are not in control. You're running off of these programs, right? So let me give you an example. If from a young age, your parents always told you to shut up, and they keep telling you to shut up, what do you eventually do? You eventually shut up. And what does that really do as you develop? Let's go through a scenario, right? So your parents kept telling you to shut up as a kid, and as you get older, as you start developing, what is it you're gonna do? You're gonna hush. You're not going to speak up. You're gonna be less assertive. You're gonna probably get pushed over. You're probably not going to speak what's on your mind. You're not gonna have boundaries. Or the flip side of it is you seek to rebel from being told to shut up, so you force yourself onto people. You are too pushy, you are demanding, you're not very tolerant. And you think those are just your intrinsic behaviors when you become an adult, but really that stems from trauma that you have not addressed. And so you got to realize, if you do not address the trauma, you are actually not being your authentic self, and you are selling yourself and your life short. This is big stuff, fam. You got to address the trauma. You got to address the crap that's going on in your mind, that's going on in your life, because it affects everything. It will affect how you deal with other people. It affects how you talk to yourself. It affects your success in life. It messes up with everything, your job, your love life. It can even lead to ED if you're a dude. Like, it throws everything off. It messes up your blood, your brain, everything. Trauma is something that you have to address, and oftentimes it is swept under the rug and not given enough attention. Address your trauma. Do shadow work. And if you need something to start off with doing your shadow work, shoot me a DM. I'll send you a journal for doing shadow work. And if you'd like to support your boy, you know, let's talk about that too. I got a book on shadow work, like an actual book that you're gonna read and go through. But you gotta address the trauma, y'all. This is important because it's impacting you whether you believe it or not. That's just the case. It's impacting you. It's the emotional, and we gotta realize we have three bodies. We have three bodies that we're operating in, right? So you got your spirit body or your mental body. You have your emotional body, and then you got your physical body. Most trauma stems from the mental body or from the emotional body, and it happens because the mental body has agreed or allowed a negative thought pattern into itself. Okay, it gets pulled into itself, and once these thoughts happen, what it does is it creates an emotion, you know, like happiness, sadness, grief, whatever the case may be. This creates a resonance, it creates a vibration, and that vibration is then followed by a chemical concoction in your brain. We call them hormones, and they elicit a physiological response. What's happening on the emotional level is that emotion, typically when it's negative from trauma, it is resonating in your body. Grief, anger, sadness, all these have a specific vibrational resonance. They are vibrating. And when you don't address your trauma, those vibrations stay within the body. And guess what happens? When a small situation that you shouldn't get angry at or should be easily addressed, you turn to anger or grief or sadness because you basically are already primed for this negative emotion. And it's because it's been lodged because of trauma. Does that make sense, y'all? Give me a thumbs up, put something in the chat. I hope that makes sense. That's why it's so important to deal with trauma, because otherwise you will be easily triggered. You will be easily pulled back into these negative thought patterns or these negative feelings. And it's all interrelated, and it relates to the body. You know, pain in the neck is because like somebody's annoyed you. Like you can literally get neck pain. These aren't just words. These aren't just sayings. These are legitimate things that happen. Yeah, brother. So let's be real. What does trauma look like too? Because a lot of times people don't think they got trauma. Again, excuse my language, people think they shit don't stink. Yo, if you are not able to stay in control of your actions, if you're not able to stay in control of how you express yourself, you have trauma. Simplest way I can put it. You have trauma when you lose control. You have trauma when you lose control. If you have unstable relationships, if you are in and out of things, if you find that you are not able to stay still, if you find that you get irritable, if you find that your emotions are all over the place, if you feel fatigue, lethargy, any kind of illness, you got trauma, yo. I'm gonna let you know, everybody got trauma. And if you think you don't have trauma, you either have done a lot of shadow work, a lot of self-healing, or you're lying to yourself. Now, I'm not gonna say that you're lying to yourself, because I don't know you like that, but I'm gonna say more likely than not, you probably are. Just being honest with you, I still got trauma that I'm working through. It's an ongoing process, and it's kind of a road to go through. And I want to tell you that, so that as you're on your healing journey, if you haven't started it, or even if you're on it already, it is a process. It is ongoing. You got to recognize that you are in charge of regulating and modulating yourself. And life is coming at you to test you and to see how far you've grown. Recognize that, family. I'm not saying that you're not going to ever experience trauma again. You most likely are. The difference between experiencing it and holding on to it is the work that you put into getting rid of it. Right? Trauma is typically a result of things that you have not addressed, right? Or things that you didn't understand at a certain period in time. It's sometimes even your subconscious protecting you, right? So there's something called a heart wall that develops when your body doesn't want you to, doesn't want your heart to get broken anymore. Disappointments, anger or disappointment, sadness, of neglect, all these things literally break your heart. You feel it. You feel sad. You felt this before if you've ever cried deeply. And what happens, what your body does, some things your subconscious does is a trauma response, is you build up a heart wall. And that's where a lot of people's like, I don't feel stuff, or they want to be hard, quote unquote. Really, it's weak, but talk about that in just a moment. You got to realize that these are trauma responses. If you don't feel stuff, that's trauma that you got to address. And you got to be patient with yourself as well, because a lot of the trauma responses, or a lot of the traumas that we've endured, or the responses from the trauma we've endured, has been there to protect us. But what has not been done is we've moved past the situation. And so we hold on to the trauma response, and we attribute the response as our innate way of being. Recognize that, fam. We confuse the response as our actual characteristics, and it's not. So some people are really irritable all the dang time, or they're very pissed off all the time, and they like, that's just who I am. They piss me off. No, bro, that's not you, because you weren't like that as a child. You were conditioned like that as a child, and that's because you had trauma that you didn't address or you didn't know. And oftentimes your parents are giving you trauma. They don't know any better, yo. So I'm going to tell you right now, to get rid of a lot of this stuff, forgive your family. Forgive your parents right now. Don't look at them as parents anymore. Don't look at your perpetrators as anything other than a hurt human. We've all heard the phrase, hurt people, right? And also realize. So you got to recognize these things, y'all. Don't look at these people as, don't hold them on a pedestal. Don't hold them to a title. They're humans with issues. And this is the age, this is the era, this is the time in our development as a human consciousness, as a human species, that we are able to see the effects of these mental imbalances. We're able to see the effects of our actions on other people. This is a beautiful time to be in right now, because the people that are doing the work, we're going to be leading the revolution. We're going to be leading the evolution. We're going to be the leaders, the role models, the speakers, the thought leaders, all these innovative people, because we've done the work, and we're going to help other people do that work, right? So you gotta heal. You gotta look at the trauma. And if you got issues, seek help. There's nothing wrong with seeking help, yo, because everybody needs help. There's nobody that's accomplished everything in life by themselves. I guarantee you that nobody's done it by themselves. Nobody. Everybody asks for help. Why? Because you're not alone. You're not on an island. That's something that they lied to you about. That's something that you got confused about, that somebody taught you erroneously. You're not an island. You're not by yourself in a sea full of people. No, you're in a sea full of people, period, point blank. And you have to learn how to connect. You have to learn how to see past what you got to learn how to have vision instead of sight. You learn how to visualize things. You learn how to feel into things instead of just seeing what people are doing. Because a lot of times, some things, if you don't understand the deeper levels of psychology, if you don't understand trauma, if you don't understand hurt people, you'll see what people do, and you'll be like, that's the fucked up person. He's mean. He's whatever the case may be. She's horrible, whatever the case may be. But in reality, they just have trauma that they have not resolved. And oftentimes, people don't know how to resolve the trauma. So if you're somebody who's feeling stuck, don't know how to express yourself, or whatever the case may be, seek help. Get a coach. Get a mentor. Change your diet. Diet has a lot to do with your mind. Just let you know that right now, right? But trauma is important. Trauma is a very big thing to start addressing and start working on, all right? I want to address this right now, actually. When you don't express your emotions, you're weak. You're weak, and I'm going to tell you why. It's a sign of weakness. Most people don't want to express their emotions because they don't want to be vulnerable. I understand that you don't want to be vulnerable. But when you're unable to be vulnerable, it's typically because you don't know, or you don't believe that you have the strength to pick yourself back up or to heal. Recognize that. That's why you don't want to express your feelings. That's why we're always playing these games with other people. I'm going to show you I don't care. That's silliness, y'all. You're neglecting yourself, you're denying yourself, and you're denying other people the love that you have inside. And I'm going to let you know, love heals. So learn to express your emotions. Learn to express yourself. If you don't, that's a sign of weakness. It is. You got to learn how to do it. And this is for my fellas out here. It's for my men. Yo, it's okay to cry. It's okay to show your emotions. It's okay to be upset. People confuse expressing with leading. Let me explain that. People think you're expressing your emotions when you lead with your emotions. That's not the same thing. If I'm angry, I don't have to yell. You get what I'm saying? I don't have to lead with my emotion. I can feel my emotion and express it to you in a healthy way. If I'm angry or pissed off at you, I don't have to say, yo, why are you doing all that, blah, blah, blah. I can just say, you know what? I didn't like that, and it's causing me anger. It's pissing me off. You can say it in a very calm demeanor. You got to learn that. You have to honor your emotions, but you don't let them lead you. Express your emotions. Learn to have a handle on them, okay? And you got to recognize this: emotions are really just messengers. Emotions are messengers. They're telling you things from your subconscious that you need to hear or you need to express. Or it's also telling you that sometimes some things need to change. If you're feeling pissed off, annoyed, crowded, whatever the case may be, it might be telling you that you need to establish boundaries, or that you need space, or you need rest. The emotions are just messengers. So learn to embrace them, learn to feel them, learn to not run from them, okay? That's all we got for trauma. And the last thing, this is one question, it's for family, right? And we already addressed it. Really, how does family affect your habits and your trauma? They are the root, typically, for both of those, habits and trauma. And once you address this, once you realize it, it allows you to free yourself. It allows you to escape the loop of being stuck on this hamster wheel. You are the controller of your destiny. You are the controller of your life, and only you are that. One more time, only you are that. I hope you guys are excited about that. You get to control everything in your life. When you come to that realization, you'll realize how much power you have, and you'll be able to pull all that power back, right? So family does have an influence on you, but you got to pull your influence back. You got to pull your energy back. You got to pull your power back. You have to embrace yourself again in all of your beauty and all your power. So I want to end this with an invitation to everybody. If you haven't already checked the link in my bio, I would highly suggest you do it. I do 3 different things. So the first thing is I have a 3-day dare. So if you're somebody who faces analysis paralysis, you don't know how to make decisions, I go check that out. The second thing is I do discovery calls. So if you're somebody who needs some help, you want a little more guidance, everybody gets a free discovery call. Click the link, schedule it. And the third thing is an inner alignment assessment. A lot of people want success in life. They want to get more clarity, but they're often stuck. They're often confused. They're often, they feel like they're in a box or they're in quicksand and they don't know how to get out. The inner alignment assessment will help me guide you more specifically on where I think you can focus and help you improve your life. So I want to offer that to you, and I want to tell you a little bit about myself because I didn't do it at the beginning because we had these technical difficulties. My name is Brother 𝐿𝐫𝐿. I'm an inner alignment specialist strategist, and what I'm really doing is I help spiritual seekers and entrepreneurs develop their philosophy for life. And like I said earlier, philosophy is your form of freedom. And it really starts drilling into your values and the way you're going to operate in life. And if you feel like you're in need of that, if you feel like you want a little more clarity, if you want more direction, if you want to be able to build your intuition and that trust within yourself, I suggest you book that discovery call and we can talk a little bit and we can see if we're a right fit. That's really me in a nutshell. Like, I love life. I love helping people. I've been doing it since I was a child, quite literally. I tend to know what to say. People tend to get very calm around me. I have a lot of energy. A lot of it. So if you need some, I promise you, you're going to be jazzed up, you're going to have some clarity, or you're going to have a combination of the two after we finish our conversations. So my doors are always open. Links are in the bio. You can check my website. But that's it, y'all. I want to tell you thank you for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. Everybody who stayed in, tuned in. And you can always share this afterwards. I hope you can share it. I don't know what's going to happen when I get out of this, but I appreciate y'all. I really and truly do. That's it, y'all. My name is Brother 𝐿𝐫𝐿 at 𝐈𝐴LLG.com. We're always building bridges within to explore the world without. Y'all take it easy. Peace.